Marking an SNR level. Before we discuss how we marked SNR level, let's look briefly how candlestick is formed as shown in the picture. To mark the SNR key level, we looked at the closing price of the first candle and marked it at the closing price. To mark the SNR key level, the second candle should already be formed or closed. If it is still not yet formed or open, then cannot be used or is invalid. In this chart, we marked a bearish gap level, but it is invalid because the second candle is still open. Similarly, in other SNR level, we can't use it if the second candle is still open. For a breakout SNR, the breakout candle should be closed. If it's still forming, then the level is invalid. In this chart, we marked an RBS level, but it is invalid because the breakout candle is still forming. Similarly, in other breakout SNR levels, we can't use it if the breakout candle is still open. Let's see some examples in a candlestick chart and how to mark those levels. Always look at the closing price of the first candle. Sometimes you can also use a line chart to help confirm the level. Example of a bullish gap that looks confusing in terms of how to mark level. Another example of a bullish gap that looks confusing in terms of how to mark level. Example of a bearish gap that looks confusing in terms of how to mark level. Another example of a bearish gap that looks confusing in terms of how to mark level. Example of support that looks confusing in terms of how to mark levels. In line chart view. Another example of support that looks confusing in terms of how to mark levels. In line chart view. Example of resistance that looks confusing in terms of how to mark levels. In line chart view. Another example of resistance that looks confusing in terms of how to mark levels. In line chart view. Breakout. In breakout, there is internal breakout and external breakout. The difference between internal and external breakouts is that if a support or resistance level that was created before touching a key level breaks, it is an external breakout, while if a support or resistance level that was created after touching a key level breaks, it is an internal breakout. If you get confused, you can refer to the picture shown. Let's look some examples at market. To access this type of information, please subscribe or follow our page.